Have you ever noticed that after you started changing, certain people just disappeared from your life? That you suddenly started feeling different, more alone, and even thought you were being rejected? Well, what no one told you is that it's not rejection, it's protection. And that's exactly what this video will open your eyes to. Because what seems like distance, coldness, or contempt is actually universe removing from its path everything that could impede its awakening. Alan Watts said that when consciousness awakens, life begins to reorganize itself. And believe me, this reorganization isn't always smooth. You start to lose people, opportunities, and even habits that seemed like part of who you were. But none of this is happening by chance. It's a phase that separates what strengthens you from what weakens you. What you'll understand here today will completely change the way you view loneliness, isolation, and even the criticism you receive. You'll discover that the awakened soul is not excluded, it is chosen. And when God, the universe, call it what you will, starts to isolate you, it's because something big is being prepared for you. So pay attention, because this video isn't just another reflection, it's a warning. After watching it to the end, you will never see silence or loneliness the same way again. You will understand why awakened souls are not rejected. They are protected. Now that you understand that none of what you lost was rejection, but protection, everything changes. This truth opens a new level of consciousness, and those who reach this point have already begun this transformation. When you understand that the universe is shaping you for something greater, there's no turning back. It's growth, it's clarity, it's strength. So show that you're part of this change, like the video, and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that strengthens your mind and soul. Every like and subscription keeps this message alive and helps others. Awaken as you are awakening now. Have you ever felt like after you started changing, everything around you started falling apart? People drifted away, friendships grew cold, places that once made you feel good started bothering you, and the strangest thing, you didn't do anything wrong. You just started thinking differently, seeing life differently, noticing things that previously went unnoticed, and that's when everything changes. This is where awakening begins, and with it comes that feeling of exclusion, of loneliness, of no longer fitting in anywhere. But what almost no one tells you is that this is part of the process and not a sign of failure. When your consciousness awakens, your energy shifts, and you automatically stop vibrating at the same frequency as those still trapped in unconsciousness. The result? The universe begins to reorganize your life and remove what no longer matches your new level. It's natural to feel pain when this happens, because humans have become accustomed to associating companionship with security. So when you start losing people, you believe you're being rejected. But the truth is exactly the opposite. You're being protected. When you awaken, the universe begins to remove everything that might hinder your growth. And this includes old friendships, worn-out relationships, toxic environments, and even habits you swore were part of who you were. Alan Watts explained it simply. He said that awakening is like turning on a light in a dark room. At first your eyes hurt, you're uncomfortable with the brightness, and you want to return to the darkness because everything seemed more comfortable there. But now you've seen, you've realized, and there's no longer any way to pretend you don't know. It's like lifting a veil from your eyes. You begin to see what was previously hidden. And the curious thing is that the more you wake up, the more you realize that most people live on autopilot. They work, complain, repeat the same patterns, and think that's what life is all about. When you start to question this, it naturally bothers those still asleep. They see you as different, strange, distant, and you begin to feel the weight of this difference. This is where many backtrack, trying to fit in again, adapting so as not to lose others. But awakening doesn't let you be the same. You can even try to pretend, but something inside you screams that there's no going back. What you called rejection is just the universe pushing you forward, taking you away from where you no longer belong. This phase is confusing because the ego wants to be accepted, wants to belong, wants to be recognized. But the soul, that deeper, quieter part, just wants freedom, and it will do anything to free you, even if it hurts. And it does. It hurts to see people walking away. It hurts to realize that what you believed no longer makes sense. It hurts to feel like the world is turning its back on you. But it's precisely this pain that awakens you to your own strength. Alan Watts said, "You can't wake up until you've slept enough." In other words, awakening only happens when the discomfort is so great that it forces you out of sleep. So, if your life is changing, if people are walking away, if you feel like nothing is the same again, congratulations. This is a clear sign that the awakening has begun. Do you know what else happens during this phase? Silence. Suddenly, you start to enjoy being quieter, more reserved. The noise of shallow conversations tires you. The rush of people makes you nauseous, and being alone takes on a new meaning. Before, loneliness hurt. Now, it heals. It's in solitude that you begin to truly listen to yourself, to understand what you feel, what you think, and what you want. Solitude is the first gift of awakening. It's the interval between who you were and who you are becoming. And the most beautiful thing is that, the more you align with this new version, the more you realize that isolation isn't punishment. It's training. It's the time the universe gives you to strengthen yourself before returning to the world with a new consciousness. And here's an important point. No one truly awakens without losing something. Loss is part of the cleansing. What leaves your life is making room for something greater. So when you miss someone somewhere, or even a past version of yourself, remember that nothing is truly lost. It just transforms. Everything real remains. Everything temporary dissolves. It's the natural flow of life. Watts said that resisting change is like fighting the current. The more you try to hold on, the more exhausting you become. But when you relax and let the river carry you, the path becomes lighter. Now think about it. How many times have you insisted on something that no longer made sense, just for fear of being alone? How many times have you suppressed yourself to keep someone close? Awakening comes to break this cycle. It teaches you that being alone is not the same as being empty. It's in this space of silence and apparent solitude that you reconnect with what's essential. And when this happens, you stop chasing people and begin to naturally attract those who vibrate on the same wavelength as you. This is why awakened souls aren't rejected. They simply no longer fit into small spaces. Write the word here in the comments. Wake up, so I know you're already going through this phase. And pay attention. What comes next will help you understand why this feeling of isolation is not a punishment, but a form of such powerful spiritual protection that you will never see the same way again. Have you ever noticed how, right after you awaken, it seems like the whole world turns against you? People who were always around start disappearing. Situations that once flowed start to stall, and everything seems to conspire to leave you alone. But look, this isn't the universe punishing you. It's protecting you. It's a kind of spiritual shielding that only those who are going through it understand. When your energy shifts, the universe needs to distance you from everything that could set you back. It's as if it puts an invisible fence around you, preventing old patterns, toxic people, or negative environments from draining your new vibration. And the problem is, most people interpret this as rejection, when in fact it's the first sign of protection. Alan Watts said that life is like a game where the goal isn't to win, but to wake up. And when you wake up, you begin to see the movements of this game differently. What you once called bad luck, you now realize was deliverance. That person who blocked you, that job that ended, that friendship that was lost. None of these were coincidences. They were answers. They were walls being built to protect you from what is no longer aligned with your path. But the ego doesn't understand this. It wants to control. It wants to understand why. It wants to keep the old acquaintance close, even if the old is destroying you. Awakening, however, is too intelligent to let that happen. It doesn't ask what you want. It does what you need. And that's where the hardest part comes in, accepting that what hurts you now is what's saving you. Often, what you call loneliness is the space the universe has opened for something new to enter. And this something new doesn't come while you continue clinging to what should have already gone. That's why distancing yourself is necessary. The universe is saying, calm down, let me clear the way for you to see what comes next. And yes, it hurts. It hurts because human beings have become accustomed to thinking that love is a constant presence, when in fact, love also means distancing yourself at the right time. It's the not now that prevents the never again. You know that feeling when something inside you is telling you, don't go, don't talk to that person, don't reply to that message. It's life silently protecting you. It's like an invisible blockade that keeps you from entering the wrong places. And the strangest thing is that when you ignore this warning, everything starts to go wrong. Your energy weighs you down, your body gets tired, your mind gets confused. It's no coincidence. It's the universe trying to teach you in the most direct way possible that rejection is often the most elegant form of protection. Watts said that when you try to control the flow of life, you create resistance and suffering. But when you understand that even no's are a kind of love, you stop fighting the inevitable. Everything that's leaving now is what has already fulfilled its role. Nothing happened by chance, neither the arrival nor the departure. So instead of asking yourself, why did this happen to me? Start asking yourself, why is this happening now? This simple shift in thinking completely transforms how you deal with loss. And there's something powerful about all this. The universe never takes anything from you without having something better prepared. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it will come. And when it does, you'll look back and understand that it all made sense, that every separation, every silence, every person who came out of nowhere was part of a great spiritual protection. And you know what's even crazier? When you stop resisting and start accepting, the process accelerates. It's as if the universe says, now yes, he understands, now I can give him what truly belongs to him. So, remember this, nothing that's yours will be taken and nothing that leaves was ever meant to stay. Everything is being filtered so that the new comes in clean, without interference, without old baggage. What you feel as lost today is just the beginning of a lighter, more aligned new beginning. And look, write the word here in the comments protected, because that's exactly what you are now, protected. It may feel like rejection, it may feel like abandonment, but it's the opposite. It's the invisible hand of the universe removing from your path everything that doesn't vibrate at your new frequency. And in the next section, you'll understand why this separation, which now protects you, is also what will free you from the greatest enemy of awakening, the ego that can't stand being alone. Have you ever noticed how much the ego hates being alone? It needs approval, applause, a response, someone to see it, to feel alive. And that's exactly why, when awakening begins and the universe pushes you away from certain people, the first to despair is the ego. It doesn't understand that this isolation isn't rejection, it's healing. It believes that being alone is synonymous with failure, worthlessness, abandonment. But the soul, which is silent and patient, knows that it's precisely in this emptiness that you will learn to truly fulfill yourself. Alan Watts said that suffering arises from resistance, and the ego is an expert at resistance. It wants to control everything, to keep everything under its influence, even that which is hurting you. But awakening comes to dismantle this. It forces the ego to let go of its control and face its own vulnerability. What few people understand is that the ego is afraid of disappearing. When you start connecting with your essence, the ego panics because it loses importance. It starts saying things like, nobody cares about you, nobody wants you, you're falling behind, just to make you run back to your comfort zone. And how many times have you done this? How many times have you returned to something you knew wasn't good for you, just to avoid feeling alone? That's right. This is the ego's oldest trick, using fear to keep you trapped. But awakening is the moment you stop and think, wait a minute, I don't need this anymore. It's the moment you begin to realize that solitude isn't the same as lack. Solitude is space, and it's in this space that the new can be born. When you understand this, everything changes. You begin to realize that the people who left you didn't abandon you. They simply went their own way while yours became different. The problem is that the ego insists on looking back, regretting, comparing, wanting everything to go back to the way it was. But the soul doesn't want to go back. It wants to evolve. And when the ego fights the movement of life, you feel pain. When you accept it, you feel peace. Watts said that the only way to make sense of change is to immerse yourself in it, move with it, dance with it. And that's exactly what awakening teaches you, to stop fighting the inevitable and allow life to renew itself within you. And here comes something important. The ego thrives on appearances, the soul thrives on essence. While the ego wants to show off, the soul wants to feel. The ego seeks recognition, the soul seeks truth. That's why awakening seems so painful. It's an identity shift. You stop being who others thought you were and begin to become who you really are. And of course, this is scary. You shed masks, roles, labels, but deep down all that's leaving is what was never truly yours. It's the cleansing before the construction, the silence before the melody. You know that feeling of emptiness that appears when everything seems to stop, when no one calls you, no one answers, and life seems dull. That's when the ego screams the loudest. It will try to convince you that something is wrong, that you've lost everything. But you haven't. You're rebuilding. You're learning to be self-sufficient, to listen to yourself, to respect yourself. And when this connection with yourself happens, you stop needing applause to feel good. You discover a freedom the ego will never understand, the freedom to be whole on your own. And look, there's a detail almost no one talks about. The more you try to escape loneliness, the more the universe will force you into it. Because as long as your ego is in control, you can't hear the voice of your soul. And it's this voice that will guide you to the next level in your life. So instead of fighting the silence, embrace it. It's the gap between the old and the new, between what you think you want and what you truly need. When you begin to feel comfortable in your own presence, nothing outside has the power to destabilize you. Write the word here in the comments, ego, so I know you understand that the true enemy of awakening isn't in the people who left, but within yourself, and that you're now ready to overcome it. Because in the next point, you'll discover that there's something much more powerful than the noise of the ego, the silence, which instead of weakening you, will become your greatest spiritual shield. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence is? Most people run from it as if it were an enemy, because in silence you can't fake it, you can't disguise what's inside. It's in silence that the voices you try to silence emerge. And that's why silence is so powerful. It reveals. When the universe begins to pull you away from the noise, the crowds, the distractions, it's because it's time for you to listen to what truly matters. Alan Watts said that true learning happens when the mind is silent, and that's exactly it. Silence isn't the absence of sound. It's pure presence. It's the moment when you stop reacting and begin to perceive. At first, this silence hurts. It's uncomfortable. It feels empty. But over time, you realize it's the space where your soul breathes. When the noise of your routine subsides, when other people's opinions fade, you begin to hear a voice that's always been there but muffled, your own. And it's this voice that guides you through your awakening. That's why the universe places you in moments of isolation. It's not punishment, it's protection. It's as if to say, now it's just between you and me. Life begins to shield you from external influences so that you learn to protect yourself internally. Watts said that the sound of rain needs silence to be heard. It's the same with intuition. It only speaks when the world is silent. And this is the secret of awakened souls. They learn to value silence because they know it's there that truth emerges. While others run to escape the void, you begin to understand that emptiness is the cradle of clarity. And when you discover this, something changes forever. The fear of being alone transforms into the pleasure of being at peace. You begin to realize that silence isn't loneliness. It's a shield. It protects you from the energies that drain, the words that hurt, the confusion that steals your calm. That's why, after awakening, many people become more selective, quieter, and more reserved. Not because they've lost their love for others, but because they've learned to love their own peace. When you reach this point, you understand that not everything needs a response, not every attack needs a defense, and not every presence needs to be maintained. Silence begins to act as a natural filter. It distances you from what is superficial and brings you closer to what is essential. And do you know what's most interesting? When you learn to respect silence, the universe begins to reveal things that were previously hidden. Answers, signs, paths, ideas. It's as if everything makes sense because now you have space to listen. And perhaps right now you're going through a phase where everything seems stagnant, quiet, too slow. You might feel like life has stalled. But what if I told you that it's precisely in this nothing happening that the miracle is being prepared? Silence is the interval between what has been and what is about to come. It's in this silence that the universe works behind the scenes. While you think nothing is moving, everything is being aligned, adjusted, and placed in its right place. So don't rush the process. Silence is the sign that something important is being built, and the more you resist, the longer it lasts. So, the next time the world seems too quiet, take a breath and pay attention. This pause might be saving you from something you can't even imagine. Silence is divine protection's preferred disguise. Write your thoughts in the comments below. Silence. So I know you understand the value of this moment, because in the next step you'll realize that after you learn to be at peace alone, the universe begins to align you with everything that vibrates at the same frequency as your soul. That's when the true magic of awakening begins to happen. Once silence becomes a part of you, everything changes. It's as if the whole world takes on a new color, a new rhythm, a new meaning. You begin to see people differently. What once irritated you now only awakens compassion. What once held you back no longer makes sense. It's at this point that the awakened soul begins to tune into a new frequency, one that no longer accepts falsehood, drama, victimhood, or superficiality. Alan Watts said that when the mind calms, life begins to align itself. And that's exactly it. When you find peace within yourself, everything outside begins to fall into place. Suddenly, you realize you no longer feel like insisting on certain conversations, that you no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You simply observe, understand, and let go. This isn't coldness, it's spiritual maturity. It's a sign that your vibration has shifted. The universe works by tuning, and when you change your frequency, whatever vibrates differently automatically moves away. It's not magic, it's spiritual physics. Anything that isn't aligned with your new level simply loses access to you. And it's at this moment that many people will say you've changed, that you're different, that you've become distant. And you know what? You really have. Because those who awaken don't return to the same place they came from. Life begins to bring new people, new opportunities, and new paths that match this new energy. And the curious thing is that you don't need to chase anything. Everything starts to come naturally. It's as if the universe is saying, now yes, you're ready to receive what's yours. Watts said, when you stop chasing happiness, it comes to you. This is the essence of the new attunement. Things stop being forced and start to flow. You realize that love doesn't need to be begged for, friendship doesn't need to be demanded, and respect doesn't need to be demanded. Everything that is true simply remains. But there's a detail almost no one talks about. When your energy shifts, you also become a mirror. And this mirror is uncomfortable. People who haven't yet awakened start to feel uncomfortable around you because your presence reveals what they've been avoiding seeing in themselves. That's why you attract and repel at the same time. Some will be drawn by your light, others will move away because they're not ready to see their own shadow. And this is normal. It's part of the new attunement. Don't try to change anyone. Don't try to convince, don't try to explain. Everyone has their own time to awaken. The secret is to stay centered. Instead of trying to understand why someone left, be grateful for those who stayed. Instead of lamenting the loss of something, understand that the new only arrives when there's space. This is the beauty of the new frequency. It doesn't accept accumulation. Only what is light, true, and reciprocal remains. And the more you stay in this energy, the faster everything begins to align. The right. People appear, ideas emerge, doors open. Life begins to flow again, but in a cleaner, quieter, more authentic way. This is where you realize that being in tune with your soul is the greatest act of protection there is. Because when you vibrate high, nothing low can reach you. Criticism, gossip, heavy energy, it all slips away because it has nowhere to anchor itself. And you know what's most beautiful? You don't even have to fight anything. Just be who you are. The right vibration does the work itself. Write the word here in the comments, honey, so I know you understand this phase, because in the next step you'll discover that after the universe puts you on the right frequency comes the final test, learning to relate to the world without losing your energy, and using this solitude as fuel to build something much greater. When you reach this point, everything that happened before begins to make sense. The losses, the silence, the loneliness, the separations, nothing was in vain. It was all part of a plan to prepare you for what's coming next, the purpose of awakening. Alan Watts said that the true meaning of life is not to seek security, but to surrender completely to the flow of existence. And that's exactly what the universe has been teaching you since the beginning. Every person who left, every difficult phase, every moment you felt lost was, in fact, a training session, a process for you to learn to trust, even without understanding. because only those who have gone through darkness know how to appreciate the light. Awakening isn't a prize, it's a responsibility. Once you see the truth, you can no longer pretend you don't know. You can no longer live on autopilot, nor be content with little. The awakened soul understands that every choice has an impact, that every word carries energy, and that every action creates a reflection in the world. This is why awakened souls are not rejected. They are set apart. They are placed where they can shine without interference, where they can inspire without being erased, where they can serve without losing themselves. The protection that once seemed like solitude now reveals itself as a mission. And the most powerful thing is realizing that purpose isn't something you'll find outside, but something that awakens within you. When you begin to live consciously, everything takes on meaning. Small things become big, simple gestures become lessons, and even pain becomes a tool. Watts said that life is like a dance. The goal isn't to reach the end, but to enjoy each movement. And that's what awakening teaches you, to dance with the mystery, to trust the rhythm of existence, to realize that even pauses have purpose. There comes a time when you understand that you are no longer alone, that every experience, even the most difficult, was the universe preparing you to be a channel for something greater. And that's when fear disappears. You no longer need validation, no longer need guarantees. You simply flow, knowing you're being guided. And the most beautiful thing is that without realizing it, you begin to inspire others. Your presence changes the environment, your words comfort, your energy brings calm. That's when you realize that the awakening wasn't about you. It was about what you came to do for the world. And look, it's not an easy journey. Sometimes you'll feel exhausted, doubt the path, and consider giving up. But the difference is that now you know what's behind the chaos: growth. Every challenge is a stepping stone. Every pause is preparation. Every loss is cleansing. Everything has a purpose, and the more you trust, the more the universe shows you the reason for each step. Now you understand that nothing you've experienced was in vain. Every separation, every silence, and every pain were precise steps toward your awakening. This content opened your eyes to see that you were never rejected, but prepared. And when something inside you changes, the whole world changes with it. So like and subscribe to the channel. It's your way of sharing this truth with others who are still in the dark and need the light you now carry. Write your message in the comments. Wake up to confirm that this message touched your soul. And stay tuned, because the next video will show you the next stage of this journey, an even deeper revelation about what happens when the awakened soul reaches the point where nothing external can shake its peace.